Man, that nigga was that Japanese guy was in shape.
11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Guerrero won it. Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
And thanks to those joining me live and those who have joining me on the archive. Hit the like button. You can always hit the bell that way you're notified every time this boxing comes on live. Ladies and gentlemen, shout out to JC. I did get to watch the Jake Paul fight yesterday, and I didn't really get to watch the rest of the event, to be honest with you. I did see the knockout of that H2O kid. Man, he got knocked the fuck out. Like, holy shit. He went to sleep. God damn. But here's the deal. Am I here to tell people that Jake Paul's a world class athlete and Jake Paul's going to like I don't know, like am I here to say he's gonna run boxing for the next few years, something like that? No, no, bro. Like I'm not saying, oh, watch out, Opataya. Like Jake Paul has arrived. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not here to say that he could take on Canelo or Beterbiev or like you can forget about that. And I think he knows that. He knows that's why he keeps calling out MMA guys, right? And which is fine. That's his little niche that he has going on, right? And it's working, right? But here's the reality. I mean, you can't deny the arena. You can't deny the buzz this fights create. And it doesn't have to be amongst us, right? Amongst boxing fans, although some boxing fans do definitely watch. I would say most boxing fans still watch. But you can't deny the buzz that it creates amongst just the general public. I have coworkers asking me if they do you think Jake Paul can, it's funny because they try to make it sound like it's reasonable. Like, I mean, I'm not saying like right now. I'm not saying that like Jake Paul can fight Canelo now, but like, somewhere down the line, like in 2-3 fights, you don't think he'll be ready? See, wait, he'll be ready, man. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, oh, see, wait, the chingon, the chilo, he'll be ready for Canelo in 2-3 fights. These same people watch Canelo fight, but like, how can anyone watch Canelo fight? Right? Even if you're just a casual fan, but you watch Canelo. And then watch Jake Paul and like ask me a question like, do you think Jake Paul will be ready for Canelo in like 2-3 fights? I couldn't even answer it in English, bro. It's like, see way. See. Like that. What the fuck? Sí, güey, está chingón, güey. Los tres pelados, güey. Va a estar listo a ganar. And I love the fact that they ask in a way that's like, no, I don't mean like right now, because that'll be ridiculous, right? Like in 2-3 fights. Like what? Okay. So, but at least they have some awareness. It's almost like they acknowledge, okay, Canelo's better, but they're thinking like 2-3 fights, maybe. But yeah, man, something's broken in the sport. Like I'm just telling you guys right now, like something's broken with the way people perceive boxing, right? Um, something's broken with the way we like the general, even some boxing fans will view the sport like it's just broken, bro. Like I don't, and there might not be like a way to fix it. Either everyone's just gonna adapt to it, or I don't even know. I'm just here. I'm just witnessing this. Like you know what I mean. Like Batista, what do you mean it's broken? It's broken, bro. Like world class fighters are fighting in front of 2,000 people, and novices are selling out arenas. Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like there's something broken with the system. Um, like guys that are like the best of the generation. Like I have casual fans asking me if he could take on Canelo in 2-3 fights. Like, and I'm like, do I even want to engage in this? Like, do I even want to? It's like debating a flat earther. Like, what do you do? Like, oh, it's flat, bro. What do you mean it's flat? Oh, you believe NASA? Huh? You think it's round? Like, I'm just like, at that point, it's like you have to make a decision. Like, is this worth it? Like, is it worth to dive into this conversation right now? Like, is it, or should I just like tell them, okay, cool, see you way, see you way, see you way, see. Like, should I just do that? It's broken, bro. I'm not talking about corruption, but boxing's always been corrupt, right? That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about it's like the way people view the sport. It's like broken, bro. It's broken in so many ways, right? I'm not saying there's never been prospects that were hot and popular, but these were guys that we knew had very great potential, and we were right about them. Like Canelo was very popular in Mexico and selling out arenas over there, and before he even came to the States. But yes, that's more attention than like a lot of world champions were getting, right? Like Juan Manuel Marquez, which is why I think it explains why Marquez had somewhat of a beef, if we're honest, right? But like we knew though that this is a very talented kid that has the potential to become the future. Like you know what I mean? And look, we were right. The ones that were wrong till this day hold this grudge against Canelo. They low key hate Canelo. They make it about the fans, but it's not really that. They were just wrong about Canelo. They're wrong so many times. They didn't see how great he was going to be. So now all they're trying to do from till this day is tear him down. You know what I mean? But that's the product of somebody that was just wrong, and that they can't admit they were wrong. Like it's what it is, right? But um, I just feel like so much is broken. Like it's Tyson versus Jake Paul is going to be the biggest event probably in boxing in the year 2024. Bigger than probably in the Canelo fight. Bigger than probably the rematch of Usyk Fury. At least in the U.S., probably the world though. I think Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul is going to be, because of the backing of Netflix and because of the because of who um who Mike Tyson is, and he's coming back, and then a lot of just people just know Jake Paul. I'm being asked if Jake Paul's like, dude, I can't believe I'm being asked by people. Like a coworker looked at me in the eyes, and he looked genuine, like, hey man, so Jake Paul, right? I didn't believe in him either, but he just beat, this guy, Mike Perry, bro. And the thing is, bro, is that I'm not saying right now, but like in 2-3 fights, do you think you could take Canelo? Like, see away. I mean, at least he recognizes he's not ready right now, right? Like at least at the start, it's just the in 2-3 fights part. He ain't never going to be ready for a Canelo, right? Like that's just the way it is. But yeah, but Mike Tyson, Jake Paul's going to be the biggest boxing event of the year. That's where we're going. Like, and I know what I know what a lot of you boxing fans are going to say. I'm a boxing fan too, obviously. Oh, you're crazy. You think that's bigger than Crawford versus Maldrimov? Like, yes. I think more people bought the Jake Paul Mike Perry fight. They're going to buy the next Crawford fight. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. I don't. And that's what I mean. Like, Crawford is one of the best boxers I've ever seen. Number one, number two, pound for pound, easy. But he just doesn't sell like that. Like it's always been the entertainment business. It's always been all that. It's always been prize fighting. It's always been a business. It's always been that way. But bro, it's becoming a parody, bro, of itself. It's what it's becoming. And I don't know if there's anything that could really fix it, to be honest with you. I just don't. I think it's probably going to get worse, which is why a lot of boxers got to start thinking outside the box and be like, okay, what do I got to do to be more marketable? And I'm not even saying all of it. When I say it's broken, right? I'm just saying the business as usual. Some of it could work to our benefit in the long run, and I'll explain how. But like one way is it could incentivize boxers to not be boring ass fighters, right? Because just being a great fighter by itself now just isn't enough, right? I would love if that was enough, but it's not anymore. It's just not enough to just get the W, right? And and I'm not saying it doesn't matter. It is a big component of it, right? And at the moment, fighters that are winning and are very good are getting guaranteed contracts and stuff like that, but they're not really generating the amount of money that, like when you break down the numbers the best we can with the available information in a way, it doesn't seem to me like they're generating what their guaranteed contracts are giving them, right? Shakur Stevenson was offered by ESPN $3 million a fight, right? And that's guaranteed money. That's not if for whatever reason he lands a pay-per-view fight, that's not counting any extra money or nothing like that. But nothing about 1 million viewers on ESPN, more on whatever the amount is on ESPN Plus, and a $900,000 gate, like screams you earn $3 million. Like nothing about it does. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, bad thing. I just point that out, right? But for how long are guaranteed contracts going to be handed out to a lot of these fighters? And we got to start asking the question, like, are guaranteed contracts good for boxing? Are they good for us, the consumer? They're good. They're great for the boxer, right? But are they good for us? Like, I would argue that for years, I actually argued that, yeah, why not? Of course, because it locks down the fighter. It locks down fights we're going to get. But then we also get for the most part, from my personal vantage point, it seems like we're getting a crap product, right? Ladies and gentlemen, and I had several people tell me this, just in general, people enjoy that fight card with Jake Paul and Amanda Serrano and the other fights. That main event with Jake Paul against Mike Perry. People just enjoyed themselves more with that card than most boxing events, right? With like, obviously, most of this was, professional boxers. I get it, but I see people calling it a shit show and this, but the reality is, people are enjoyed themselves more with it. They felt they got their money's worth more with this than they do with boxing cards with elite level boxers, world class championship boxing. They enjoyed themselves more. Like that's just a reality, and people get excited for it. They're starting to really get excited for a Jake Paul event, and tell us what it is, JC. Tell us. I think what's happening here is, and I'm pretty sure it's tied to this a lot. Shout out to Apple Tab, by the way, Eric Gomez, all you guys, JC. I feel like the sport's always been about business, right? Like, make no mistake about it. Whether Ray Robinson, Ali, go all the way back to even Jack Dempsey, Jack Johnson. It's always been about, let's get a big venue, let's maximize profit, let's create a big fight, let's create a big buzz. Don King was a master at it. It's always been that. However, there had to be some level of qualification, right? There was the qualifiers from the general public were higher. Well, what do you mean by that? I mean by that, how good are you? How good is your talent, right? We have, over the years, bastardized that, and over the years, lowered the qualifying standard. How do you lower the qualifying standard? Well, you lower the qualifying standard by creating more belts, where it waters down what being a world champion is, right? And in turn, you water down what a contender is and what a number one contender is, and that's how we end up with like guys like Skull, who are like, people are like, what do you mean that's the mandatory? Who's he fought, right? When you water everything down, right, and that's the very beginning of it all, right? And then you start to water down, even with the watered down product, you start to water down what the expectations of a world champion is, right? And guys coming off losses fight for world titles, right? You're starting to go down a certain path, right? As good fighters are being blackballed or, frozen out for business purposes. Well, you don't sell tickets, so therefore we don't need to fight you, right? This is a business, not a sport, right? The more you do that, right? Not that these things, again, have always been going on. However, they've accelerated and they've been bastardized and they've become almost parodies of themselves, right? It's not like it jumped from one thing to the other, but it was a progressive change, right? It progressively, or regressively, I should say, started going in one direction, and it could only lead to what, right? And then you start doing some extreme stuff. So Mayweather fights Conor McGregor, who had no professional boxing matches, and the event is the second most sold pay-per-view of all time, right? And Mayweather engaged in making that happen, and a very ignorant public really believed, like, we had celebrities picking McGregor to win that fight by knockout, right? Going in. So, and then you see the event for what it is, and maybe diehards hate it, but guess what? You start to enable that behavior, right? And then people start to mimic that, because it's like, look at the success that event had. It was a guy with no professional fights, right? So as long as you're a name and people kind of believe you could fight, that's really all you need. And ever since then, that's what we've been getting, right? And you get the Eddie Hearns, who was involved in the Logan Paul versus KSI fight. he pushed that, and he had Devin Haney on the undercard, I believe it was, and when you start to push stuff like that, you slowly start shifting, the parameters of the sport, and look at where we are now. Like, we're at a point where if you're a name and you bring interest to a fight, you could make something bigger in terms of interest from the public than a world-class championship fight. We have lowered, like, you could almost blame Floyd for this. He lowered the qualifier pretty low, right? With the Conor McGregor fight, right? And then things happen after that. Eddie Hearn getting involved with that stuff, right? It lowered the qualifiers. The Misfits is an example of lowered qualifiers. Like, these guys don't have to be that good, and people still show up to these events, right? You have a lot of us find it embarrassing, but that one Fury, what the hell's his name? The Fury that fought Jake Paul, the brother of Tyson Fury. But he's involved in the Misfits now. That's what he's doing. Why? Because they were trying to build this guy as a prospect, and they were moving him seriously in terms of this is what we do, and then we're going to go ahead and build him into a prospect and then a contender, and then go for a world title. And after the Jake Paul fight, he said he was done, but he was Tommy. Thank you. Look at it. He's not even really pursuing like a real legit run, right? He's not. Jake Paul tried it for 2 fights, and he said, I'm not making the same money, and he moved on. They're not going the path that takes you to like become a world-class fighter or try to be. Like, I'm just saying, lower the qualifiers, and then all of a sudden we got what we got. So it is what it is. And yeah, it's Tommy. It's Tommy. I feel very like, parts of me are optimistic about the sport, and parts of me are not. Right? Like, it's kind of like, because I see a path where the popularity of the sport is going to be there, but I don't know if it's going to be there for somebody like me. Right? I do think everything always corrects itself, and I do think the qualifiers are going to get even better, right? As but I hope anyway. They can't get any lower. But I believe that the sport is going to grow in popularity. I do. But like, I don't know if I'm going to be all in. I don't know if I'm going to be, if it's going to be for me. You know what I mean? Because I'm a guy that believes in hierarchy within the sport. I'm a guy that believes in competition. I'm a guy who believes in the best, fighting the best, and us finding out through a hierarchy system who the best in the world is, right? And I also believe that we should have a sport that rewards risk and rewards elevating your level of competition, that rewards, the bigger the risk, the bigger the opposition, the more reward you should get. We have that to a certain degree right now, but that all may be lost. We may have a sport where you're going to have someone who's a middle of the road level boxer, but he's so popular, and social media is so big, and he's selling 1 million pay-per-view buys, and he's selling out arenas, and people just love the story, and that's like the most popular shit going on in boxing, right? And I don't know if like that's going to be for me, like I don't know if it's going to sit well with me watching much better, superior fighters just be relatively unknown while middle of the road dudes are popular, and the sanctioning bodies will definitely get involved because of the sanctioning fees, and they'll be crowning people. I mean, world champion that probably shouldn't be a world champion. We kind of already see that now to a certain degree, and that's where I see it going. It's clear as day to me. Like the more and more I look down the road, right? And I love boxer stories. Like if you're a middle of the road boxer, like you're just an average fighter and you got a great story, I could still be a fan of yours, right? But at the same time, I don't believe you should be celebrated as the most popular shit since sliced bread in the sport, right? But I think that's where we're going though. And I don't think it's going to be about the actual fights. I think it's going to be about the personalities, and we already have people justifying it. Oh, it's the entertainment business. Oh, hey, it's a business. It's not a sport. It's like, it's like Broadway. It's not really like a sport. Like, keep talking that way because you're gonna literally, like, what you're using as a metaphor is gonna become reality, right? And hopefully I'm wrong though. Hopefully, you know, um, hopefully it's just something that passes and goes, and we'll raise the qualifiers, right? And we'll get more world class championship boxing at a high level. But I do think that the boxers right now at the top, um, like it's on them. It's on them, really. Are you going to leave this sport in a better place, right, than you found it? For decades in boxing, boxers found something and they left the sport in a better place. I cannot say the same thing about the previous generation, and I cannot say the same thing about boxers today. I think boxers today have become very greedy. I think even the fan bases, the way they speak, um, it's there, right? I see the dismissal of the fight fan. I see boxers that don't feel a need to put on a great fight for the fans, for the paying public. I see fans that they sound like people that want to ban the sport and not people that want to see great fights, right? Like the way they talk, like, why would he do that? I don't want him to end up with brain damage, and you just want their opponents to end up with brain damage, right? I mean, I'm just saying. And the more and more we talk this way, I'm using the word "we" loosely. We're going to end up with a different sport. It is going to become more entertainment. It's always been about entertainment, but once you remove the hierarchy portion of it, I don't know, man. When the high level fighters become the niche and middle of the road novice fighters become the stars, I never seen a generation like that. You tell me boxing's always been this way. Okay, name me when. Because when you look at the history books, right, I know for a fact it's never been this way, right? We've had boxing prospects on the come up that we know are future world champions, are going to be future world class fighters, and we see the talent be big stars, right? I give you the example of Canelo, right, on the come up. But I'm telling you right now, like, it's never been like this, where novices are stars and world class boxers that would destroy those novices are rarely even known, right? I'm gonna name you the boxers that some of my friends right in my workplace know. Canelo, Fury. Some of them know Usyk because of the Fury fight. Crawford. And that's it. Oh, Tank. I'm sorry, Tank. And Ryan. Tank and Ryan. No cap. Tank and Ryan. I forgot about them, but they're definitely no, right? And I'll leave you with this. This is to me proof and a sign that we're going the direction I was speaking about. Look at Ryan Garcia versus Tank Davis. Catchweight fight, no title on the line, right? And it did way more than any of their other fights on pay-per-view. Think about that. So it's, to me, that's a sign where we're going. Now, granted, Ryan and Tank are world-class fighters, so it's not like, so I know people, but what's wrong with that? Like don't get me wrong. Like at least Tank and Ryan are world-class fighters, and on any given night could probably beat anybody, right? But that's not. But my point is, it did 1.2 million. That's what the numbers they put out anyway. And it was Ryan especially, like fighters that hadn't really proven anything at that point. I think proving yourself and becoming a great fighter, I'm not saying it's not important right now, but it's becoming less important. And I think that's not the best. Fighting the best really isn't. That's what people say they want from the sport. Like that's what us diehards want, but that's not. No, the people want a story that captivates them, you know? And that's since JC's right. Like it's become like sports entertainment. That's the direction we're going, you know? And that is that. So anyways, guys, I got to get ready for work and all that good stuff. So I appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. Shout out to Tony Boswell, Chicano Prophet, Drunk Irishman, Bruce Goss, and whoever, Iceman, whoever else I missed. I'm out. Peace.